welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic. Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and at the request of an anonymous Patreon subscriber, I'm playing whatever I want, and what I'm choosing to play is Esper ReScaminator. Esper ReScaminator is the latest innovation on Dimir Reanimator, a deck that has been at the top of the Legacy format for a couple of months now. I personally have top-8'd my last two large regional Legacy events that I've attended with Dimir Reanimator. I have another one coming up this weekend, which to you all hearing this on Monday is this past weekend. I'm playing in Jarvis Yu's Rumble Against Cancer charity Legacy 7K in Maryland. And we're in that fun little time lapse that always happens when I have an event coming up. I'm testing now as I record this on Wednesday. You're not seeing this till Monday. The tournament's over. You've probably already seen my post about whether I did well or not. But here we are. It is a tried and true thing in Magic's history that when a tempo deck is at the top of the format, that tempo deck with a splash color to go a little bigger becomes a viable option in that format. We can go all the way back to the original tempo deck, the original Xerox deck, which is Miracle Grow, a blue-green aggro deck back in the early days of Magic, playing land grant and days to play on a low land count. Sound familiar? And folks innovated that if we make it Bant and have bigger creatures and better removal, we have all the good stuff where the tempo is important, and we have the bigger creatures and better removal in the mirror. And you can find examples of that happening throughout Magic's history. When Treasure Cruise was legal, Is It Delver was the obvious deck, and then folks innovated Jeskai Stoneblade that used Treasure Cruise just as well, but had bigger threats and better removal because they were splashing white. You could even point to Izzet and Grixis Delver right now in Legacy. That's a little closer because there's a lot of give and take, but Izzet Delver, perfectly viable deck all on its own, but if you're willing to splash into black, you get Orcish Bowmasters, you get removal that can kill a Murktide Regent, you get tools in other matchups that blue and red don't have. Very common thing throughout Magic's history, and here it is again. Reanimator, main deck still Dimir. We are trying to disrupt the opponent with 8 pitch interaction spells, Grief and Force of Will, to shove through an Archon or an Atraxa. I did that backwards. Archon or Atraxa early enough that the size and triggers on these creatures recoup everything we spewed off to Grief and Force our opponent a bunch of times early on in the game. And then we just ride that early advantage to victory. The sideboard. The strength of this deck in the Dimir version is that after you Reanimator someone in game 1, you can board out your Entombs, your Animate Deads, your Atraxa, your Archon, and then bring in a bunch of threats from the sideboard and interaction, and then you're just Dimir Scam. Then people have stuff like Mulligan for Leyline of the Void, and you just don't care about that because that's not what you're doing. We're still pivoting like that, but the pivot's different. Instead of a bunch of Dauthi Voidwalkers and Murktide Regents, now we have Triumph of Saint Katherine, and we have Swords to Plowshares, real removal for matchups. We were relying on stuff like Brazen Borrower and Dismember before this. And Pest Control. Hot new card from Big Score, aka Outlaws of Thunder Junction bonus sheet. Black-white sorcery, destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less, and it cycles for 2 if none of that matters. This kills Grafdigger's Cage. It kills Elvish Reclaimer. Kills Delver and Dragon's Ridge Chandler. It kills anything that came out of an Urza Saga, including the constructs. Powerful weapon all around. It's great counter hate for their hate, and it's just good against decks. Especially when we take this more controlling posture and become Esper Control after sideboard. I have not played this build yet. Arkin of the Legacy Council has been doing a bunch of work on this. He has a Patreon. I believe there is a robust sideboard guide available in there. I'm going to try to do it my way and see how it feels. Let's get into this. This is my Legacy 7K testing with Esper ReScaminator. I'm on the draw in round 1. Immediately, we're feeling the squeeze of the 3-color mana base. I am going to keep this hand, though. The troll cycles into a swamp. I can reanimate the troll If they fight over that, I could pivot onto Entomb, reanimate something different. That's my plan anyway. We'll see if it rolls out. If I draw a black source, I could just try to send it faster than that. Okay. Underground Season play. And this is fun because I have triple reanimate effect, which means they have to counter the Entomb effect or get me with graveyard hate, or else I'm just going to shove until it works. And if they counter the Entomb, I just cycle and reanimate Troll, and I have a 6/5 in play. And I can do that with the mana that I have all this turn cycle. What I don't have here is protection. I didn't grief my opponent. I don't have force in my hand. If they just do something powerful before I get set up, good job you. Misty Rainforest fetched for Undercity Sewers. Could be a mirror. All right, Lauren revealed it's not a mirror. See what they get with this. Tropical Island. Looks like Bant Beans, probably. And they're pondering. Now I have the important decision to make of, do I want to play around days? And I think no. I think I have enough to just send over and over here. If they daze, I'll just reanimate Troll and they're down a land. They do have the daze. That's fine. It kind of sucks, but it's also fine. Oh, now I have Force of Will. You sack of crap. All right. Cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm. Get another Underground Sea. Underground Sea, reanimate this Chungus. Okay, I have a 6/5 in play. If this is Bug Beans, they have Murderous Cut and Children's Edict that can mess with this thing in play. They could play a Murktide and try to race. I get the first attack, but they're a creature, but I started at lower life total. Okay, so let's actually math this. They have, this is a 6/6. I attack them to 13. They put me to 8. They're at 7. I'm at 2. They're at 1. Ooh, they are actually winning the race here. There's not really removal in the main deck. Hey, I'm going to fight over this. Opponent knows what I drew here because I definitely would have forced their days last turn and been a lot more aggressive. Well, I think they drew days here, or they just already did the math on this Troll race. Oh, Atraxa, not what I wanted. Unfortunately, revealing white mana here, which I don't really have to do, but I would like to hit my land drop, but they are going to know I'm on the splash. And I needed something big that turn, like an Entomb that turn wins it. Now if I get hit down to 7, I can't even reanimate a Archon. I'd have to animate Dead It, which opens up days. Here I go. Attack. Yep. Losing the race. Can't even play this fetch land because it won't do anything. They could win right now with a Witherbloom command. Not like right now, but on their turn. That is a sorcery. Bowmaster wins the game right now. Cycling Lore and Reveal doesn't win the game right now. They got an Underground Sea. And they could have just played around days here, attack me to 1, and now Bowmaster around that. All right, I gotta draw Entomb to even have a chance. Well. Okay, I will attack first. If they have a counterspell or a Bowmaster, I'm dead no matter what. Entomb. They can't force because I put them to 1. Archon of Cruelty. Animate Dead. Please don't have 3 days this game. Stifle beats me here too. We're in. Do they have the Stifle? This is what you stifle. Ah, what a good game. All right. GG. The powerful interaction of Sultai Beans. Okay, I think I want to beat up on their graveyard without pivoting entirely off of the graveyard stuff. Or, I mean, this deck is pretty low to the ground. They care about their graveyard a lot. Stifle is just randomly super annoyingly good versus both of my monsters and the card Animate Dead. I'm just going to map this out and see how I feel about it. I could also cut the Animate Deads and get the Triumphs in, and then it's just reanimate value. I want to leave in my forces because I don't think I can beat a resolved Beanstalk. On the play with days, I like trying to decide if I want to send it on the play again or just go sideboard. I'm going to flip it to the sideboard plan. Let's go. Okay, 150 griefs and an unlicensed hearse. I am going to keep this in. I can grief them on turn 1, pitching a grief, and that lines up turn 2 unlicensed hearse after I cycle Troll. I could wait, grief them after they've taken a draw step, but that unlocks Stifle and Veil of Summer, and not Daze, because grief would check that. All right, I'm going to grief, exiling grief. Get a look at this situation over there. They did mull to 6. Nile Spellbomb, Daze confirmed. Up the Beanstalk's not a card I want to play against. The Daze is also super annoying though, but I could play around that better. Yeah, I'm going to take the Beanstalk and play Flooded Strand. Yeah, having Daze and Beanstalk in that hand really put it on a squeeze because I would have taken one or the other, but they had both. Underground Sea, Nile Spellbomb. Glad I pivoted off of that so I could ignore it here. Now I have an option of just guaranteeing land number 2, or I could fetch a Surveil land and give myself an extra look to play around Daze. I think I want to do that, actually. Undercity Sewers coming in. I did find the land. I'll keep that. I'm just trying to blank Daze here based on the decision I made with Grief. If I wanted to shove Hearse on turn 2, I would have just taken Daze and tried to beat the Beanstalk. Daze, Murktide, 2 mystery cards over there. End step cycling the Troll. I'm going to grab Scrubland and fetch Tundra. And I could draw for turn. Okay, Scrubland. Don't need to fetch yet. Unlicensed Hearse, protected from Daze. If they drew Stifle, they get to blow me out here. And it's a 2-for-1 that costs them a land, so Blowout might be aggressive. Or no, it's a 2-for-2 because they get to Stifle the Delta. Alright, looks like an emergency draw here. And I can't fetch in response to try to find a land before they draw a Stifle, because then it turns on Daze if I fetch here. And having Swords to Plowshares means I'm not even that worried about Murktide Regent. It would be cool if I can just strand it in their hand. But I can also just answer it if it shows up. They did find Force pitching the Daze. Okay. Alright, 2-for-1 unlocked. But they do still have Murktide. I have one also. My next land casts Grief. You've got an Undercity Sewers. That could send Murktide this turn. Banned Carpet of Flowers. They must not have access to green in their hand. Ponder. There is only one Surveil land in the list. I was talking to someone yesterday who has added a Meticulous Archive, and that card would be good here, but you can always imagine situations where a card's good. That doesn't mean it's right. I don't know. Constant deck building decisions to, upside when you're not doing anything versus having a plan when you are doing stuff. Okay. I am just going to draw for turn and not fetch or anything. Swords to Plowshares. This dingus. It would take a Force of Will to beat that from here. Swamp Cycle, Troll of Khazad-dûm. I'm already hyper exposed with non-basic lands. I'm not playing around Wasteland now. And I can hardcast Grief this turn. Okay, they just pass back without doing anything. Okay, I could cast Grief into Daze. Or something like Veil. I could stick an Unlicensed Hearse, which they've already indicated is a card they care about. I'll fetch and see if they Stifle first. They did not Stifle. Tundra rounds out the squad here. They can't take me off colors, can't take me off double black. Yeah, I'm going to cast Grief. Veil of Summer would be annoying, but I still have a 3-2 in play. We're in. And we're getting a look. Okay. 2 Bowmasters and a Surgical Extraction. Yeah, I don't care about Surgical Extraction. I'm going to strip this Bowmaster. Now that's a good target for future reanimates that I draw. Brainstorm, immediately switching up all the info on me. Tough crowd. Up the Beanstalk. Sheesh. Yep, good Brainstorm. They didn't shuffle, so I'm not going to click away the Surgical, though I do think they would have got rid of it. Okay, cool trick here. I can reanimate their Bowmaster, and they might have to Surgical their own graveyard here. And then the reanimate lets me Murktide, no matter what. How far back did you put the Surgical? Is it on top of your deck right now? That's possible. Maybe reckless, but possible. And they don't have to exile anything. You could fail to find off Surgical. Like, they don't have to lose the Bowmaster in their hand if they cast Surgical here. Unfortunately, or else this play would be insane. Extra insane. But it's still really good value, even if that's not true. Wow, they gave me the Bowmaster. Take 1. Alright, I'm just going to slurp up my graveyard before they get any ideas about it. If they Force of Will this, they take 1 from Bowmaster. Okay, here we go. I am way ahead on board, but they have upped the Beanstalk in play. Bowmaster, Surgical, 2 mystery cards are what's in their hand right now. They have drawn all the way through the Brainstorm at this point. Like, their Bowmaster could just kill my Bowmaster, but that doesn't really stabilize everything else that's happening on the board. Yep, there's that. Ponder, okay. It's Murktide's world. We're all just living in it. Did not shuffle Ponder. That does represent Mystic Sanctuary. I'm going to play the Hearse and see if they commit to Sanctuary up front. Okay, cool. I'm attacking with everything. I'm fine if they double block and trade off with Grief. I'm fine if they trade off armies and take an extra 3. All of these are acceptable deals to me. I probably should have used Undercity Sewers to cast the Hearse because that's what I'm going to pick up if I daze. Okay, so I'm going to stop in their draw step and exile the 2 spells from their graveyard. This is the last time they could have used Mystic Sanctuary, though this does give them a really good Murderous Cut. Okay, nope, didn't have it. They've got Surgical and 2 unknowns in the hand. One of them was just drawn at random. Or no, they didn't fetch. So they're still working through the Ponder. That was a card they kept intentionally. Surgical and 2 cards that they kept on purpose are what's in their hand right now. Another Beanstalk. All right, Engines chugging. Can they kill the Murktide in 2 turns? I think if they get through this Murktide, I'm in a ton of trouble. They had the cut. And there's no real way to daze to punish this. Ugh. Okay, yep. Gonna need Unlicensed Hearse to win this game now, or some big pivot. I guess I could flip Triumph of Saint Katherine, that's in the deck. Alright, I need a Triumph. They're fetching. If I get to daze a spell this late in the game, that would be sick. Alright, they're picking up Murderous Cut before I can exile it. Alright, that Murderous Cut does cost the full 5 right now. Brazen Borrower, not embarrassing. Do I want to Hearse right now so they can't cut unless they play a land? I think I do. Yeah, I'm just going to eat what I can eat off of that. Because they did just put a 5-drop on top of their deck. On purpose. With 4 mana. And me with Daze in my hand. I feel way behind, just saying. Just putting that out into the world. I don't feel good about my spot. Cycled Lorien revealed for a Trop. I could Brazen Borrow now and just start attacking, or I could save it to answer a Murktide. I think right now, while the Murderous Cut is dazeable, I want to just add this 3 power to the board. Like if they let this resolve, cut it, try to draw 2 cards, I could daze the cut, pick up Undercity Sewers. Probably about as good as Daze is ever going to be at this point. Right, and they have gone for that. Daze the cut before they draw cards. Because my spell's already resolved. They would have to draw like Snuff Out at this point, which I don't think is a card that they have. Force of Will. Don't hate it. I kind of hate it. Second Force. This is a big commitment. I will put this on top of my library with the hopes that I'm still in charge next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could exile the cut now, insulate against Murktide a little. Like if they just go non-fetch land, just island from hand, Murktide, bam. There's no priority for me to do a Hearse. Yeah, I'm just going to eat the cut. Nickels and dimes, folks. We're scrapping from behind. They did see me keep Undercity Sewers. They could use Surgical just to shuffle the high impact card off the top of my deck, which I wouldn't even mind because I'm not even sure if I want that card. In full retrospect, full transparency, that was a pretty risky thing that I wouldn't fault anyone for milling the Force. Something like Triumph or Bowmaster is certainly more exciting on this board than Force of Will in hand is. But if opponents over there doing stuff like cycling Nile Spellbomb all in one turn, this doesn't look like they have what they want in hand. Witherbloom Command kills 2 things here. That would be deeply messed up if they have one of those. They can't Murktide this turn. Bowmaster completely stabilizes. Yeah, they got a lot of good draws here, and they're just seeing a ton of cards. They're looking at 8 cards right now before they put 2 back to Brainstorm. Underground Sea, Orcish Bowmaster, Son of a Biscuit. I think we're dead now. Now I have to draw this brick of a Force of Will. My cantrips are awful. I'm going to exile cards from their graveyard and pass the turn. I'm not going to attack because if I draw another Orc, or if I draw a Bowmaster, this Orc army can crew Unlicensed Hearse by itself. But just attacking and trading off with Orc army, also leaving this back means they can't really attack because they can attack with Orc army, but the Bowmaster can't attack. Looks like a elbow tap Murktide region here. All right, I'm going to force it before the beans resolve. Okay. They're just 5 cards in hand, 5 life. Yeah, they can't actually attack at all, because if they attack with Bowmaster, I trade. Yo, it's a miracle. Suddenly, we're in this. Okay, Triumph, I see you. This could have happened last turn if I got rid of the force, but then they would have Murktide in play, so hard to relitigate that from here. I'm gonna crew and attack. This is a forced block. If I just turned on Fatal Push, great job, you got me, but I'm so far behind I need to make something happen here. Now they can lose Orc Army and take one, or they can lose both creatures, but they have to block the hearse or kill it. We know one of their 5 cards is Surgical. Small comfort. Okay, yeah, that 1 point got through. Just good combat math. Okay, they're hard casting Surgical on Brazen Borrower. That's certainly legal. I believe that's the only one. Yep. They'll find no other hits for that. And I am just F6'd, fingers crossed. Yeah, that was a weird Surgical. Unless they're trying to fuel their graveyard for delve spells, which is a perfectly fine reason to use Surgical there. But I didn't even have a hand to look at. I don't play any other Brazen Borrowers. If they follow up with another Murktide here, that's going to make a lot of sense. But it's still only 4/4, smaller than Triumph. And spewing off a Surgical when I have a Triumph in play means that if they draw like Cut or Edict here, the Triumph goes back into the cards rather than in exile. Yeah, which is exactly what's happening. It's back in my deck somewhere instead of just Surgical'd. Okay. And if Murktide shows up as 5/5 here, draws 2 cards. All right, yep, good job. Okay, I need good draws, up to and including Triumph of Saint Katherine, which I know is in there somewhere. Oh, held back the Bowmaster. They're playing scared. This is where I need them to be. Brainstorm, that card is not ideal in these circumstances. Orcish Bowmaster, what a beating. Can't crew my hearse, can't force any blocks here. Thoughtseize, interesting. They could go to 2 versus me going to 12 and them having an Orc Army. Yeah, right, you're a 2. I can't afford to cast that here. Show off. We play the same number of Bowmasters. They've just had them all this game, and I haven't. I had one in play briefly, but it was out of their deck. No, I say we play the same number of Bowmasters, but we have not seen the same number of cards. They have 20 cards left in their deck to my 39. That is a huge difference. Now, Unlicensed Hearse isn't even good because, well, they have a Murktide anyway. I was going to say Unlicensed Hearse grows their Murktide that's in play, but so does the Murktide that's in their hand. And this thing is 5/5. Still smaller than Hearse if they get irresponsible. If I find a Bowmaster and snipe a Bean Trigger, they're actually just dead, but I'm dead on board. If there's a Force of Will in their hand, I can't win this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to exile my own graveyard just to make Hearse as big as possible. I can't play a Murktide even if I draw it. I don't think those cards matter where they are. Come on, deck. That's not it. All right, GG. I tried to fight over the Beanstalk early. They found one anyway. That one found another one. And then, 8 turns later, 9 turns later, they're overwhelming me. 18 cards left in their deck to my 38. They've seen 20 more cards this game than me. Crushing. Okay, on to the next round. This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there. I'm on the play in round 2. I like this hand well enough. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to fetch for Underground Sea and cast Ponder. And if this Ponder gives me a black card I don't mind pitching, I can grief them now. Or I can hold the grief until I have a better plan around it. Animate Dead. Okay. Finding Animate Dead is huge, because now I can pitch the Bowmaster to grief, and I have Entomb Animate Dead as a plan to play the game. Let's have a peek. All right, looks like 8 cast, and I'm going to take this. I could take Force of Will. Oh, they can't even cast Emery with what they have. This is a weird hand. Yeah, I'm going to just take the Force of Will and plan to Archon the shit out of them. They have played around Wasteland successfully with Darksteel Citadel. Bobble. 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 They're looking at the Animate Dead on top of my deck. They're looking at the Polluted Delta in my hand, and they're drawing some new cards. I draw Animate Dead. I'm going to play Polluted Delta because that represents Undercity Sewers. My plan is to Entomb. They left this other bauble out. They're trying to find blue for the Emery, which they did successfully find. Emery resolves. Hopefully that's a blue card gone for a potential Force of Will. 2 Force of Wills in the graveyard. It's 2 down. Did they have 3 forces in the top 15 cards of their deck? I sure hope not, because I'm going for it. Entomb, I think Archon is better than Atraxa here with the Emery around. Dump Archon. They're bobbling me, revealing Animate Dead. See the same card again. Fetch for Undercity Sewers. I'd love to see Force of Will here. Troll of Khazad-dûm. Not it. You draw for Bauble. You have the 1 ring and 4 mystery cards in hand. Oh, I could brainstorm. This deck's not going to have Daze in it. So Brainstorm could actually deliver a force to go with Daze, or just flip Daze into Grief Black card. Yeah, I'm going to Brainstorm. Reanimate. Can't send it twice. Yeah, I'll put back Troll and Ponder. And I'm just going to cast the Animate Dead. Hope it sticks. Moment of truth. All right, the Animate Dead resolved. How about the trigger? Okay, trigger. Trigger. Kill Emery. Take a card from your hand. Proph's Eidetic Memory. All right. Little spice. Okay, if they like Ancient Tomb or Bauble, Opal, Land, there's a couple routes to the 1 ring here, or they just die. Cool. Yeah, Grief. Looking at someone's hand and knowing what their whole plan is on turn 1 before you've even spent any mana. Powerful stuff. This is a huge Pest Control matchup. Deciding how far I want to juke. We've seen the 1 ring. Didn't really see a lot in their deck to know if they're like Painter or Simulacrum Synthesizer or Stompy, Patchwork Stompy. It's not a lot of info to work on there. I'm on the draw where Daze is worse. I could just go a light Pest Control to mop up all their 1s and 0 artifacts, beat up Urza Saga, clear a Graveyard Hate, and then still just shove the combo. Archon is in the deck, it's just over here. All right, there it is. I was confused for a second where it went. Dauthi Voidwalker adds extra pressure, and they do have Emery that cares about the graveyard at least. I could cut 2 other Dazes and get 2 Voidwalkers in here. That's just another helpful pivot, a card that's bad against the deck full of fast mana, and I'm on the draw. Still have Grief and Force to punch through. Game plan versus Chalice of the Void. Yeah, I'm in. This is the first time I've ever had Pest Control in my Magic deck. I'm going to keep. This one needs a land in my first 2 draw steps, but it's very good at doing what it does if I find that. Petal, Pyrite Spellbomb, sure. Emery. She mills over a Graveyard Hate card. It's going to be a miserable experience. If their last cards in hand are Force Blue card, though, they can punk my plan. I think this is an important enough engine to fight over. Dauthi Voidwalker, okay. I have not found the land yet. I am going to Entomb the Archon. Just get that happening. It would be sick if they force the Entomb. It would be horrible if they cast Soul Guide Lantern. They cycled Spellbomb into a Bauble. They're looking at the top card of my deck. That won't be the top card of my deck in a moment. Entomb. Archon, get in. Come on, deck. Hit me with the land. Dang, never had it. Opponent taking a deep sigh of relief. Mox Opal unlocks a stable colored source. This could be a ring. Yeah, that card's going to be obnoxious to navigate. I'm going to Entomb Atraxa here as well. If they bomb my whole graveyard, then all my monsters are gone, and it is what it is. But I can't afford to draw Atraxa here. And now that they have ring protection, Atraxa looks better than Archon to bring back this turn. Ooh, okay. Reanimate. Is Force Blue card what's left over there? No, I'm at 12. Got to beat a 1 ring. We've got Animate Dead, Orcish Bowmaster, Pest Control. That's nice. Wasteland versus Tundra. I mean, Tundra casts Pest Control, so I think that just gets the nod. All right, load me up and make my land drop. Cool. All right. feel good about entombing the Atraxa, otherwise they would just have a 6/6 in play. The Archon trigger does target, which means Ring stuffs it. Didn't I click on a Brainstorm? Or did I decline to click it? Did I just misclick and lose out on... Yeah, I just didn't take an instant. Damn it. The way Moto sorts it is when you click on something, it puts everything that shares a type with it on the other side of the pile, of the side of the window. And yeah, the Brainstorm was in the left side of the window, and I just saw it in my pile, but you do actually have to say, I'm taking Brainstorm. Damn it. All right, well, if I lose because I can't Force of Will here, misclick got me. Yeah, I would have happily either discarded an Animate Dead to hand size or just declined the Animate Dead from the Atraxa pile to avoid going to discard if I just remembered to take Brainstorm there. Bad, bad, bad. The good news is I have an Atraxa in play. I still have an Archon in the graveyard. I have 3 ways to reanimate it in my hand. I have Pest Control in my hand versus some 8-cast variant. Yeah, here comes the Ring, loading me up, or loading them up. It's drawn almost as many cards as Atraxa at this point. Podcast very good. Bobble. Bobble sees the Force of Will in my hand, which they hadn't seen yet. But they don't know that I don't have a blue card, necessarily. Not that they can afford to really play around it. If they can kill Atraxa here, they should do that. Okay, I can try to Bowmaster this Bobble trigger, or I can just go to my turn and use my mana in higher impact ways. Cool. Okay, blue card to go with Force now. I'm going to mush with Atraxa. Yeah, I think Archon of Cruelty is a more powerful card than Orcish Bowmaster with a bonus ping. I think that's safe to say. Spell Snare, look at you. I am going to force this. Spell Snare is fascinating. I might die to some combo thing or some like insane thing that they do, because they do still have a ring around. All right, Force Pitching Metallic Rebuke. I don't get to animate the dead here. I can try that again next turn, which is actually lethal. So they do need to clear Atraxa or win the game this turn. Right. Ring activation into Thoughtcast. They've drawn 5 cards, 6 cards, including their draw step, already this turn. I actually don't even need Archon here. I just need Atraxa to connect, and their 1 ring will kill them. Canoptic Scarab Swarm in this deck. Bobbling me. Otawara's live right now. And really anything's live because I don't have a Force. Okay, they're just conceding. All right, I guess they just whiffed on this draw 10 or 12 or whatever it was since the ring came into play. The big decision for me that game was forcing the turn 1 Emery, and I think it was correct because it seems like they kept the hand on the strength of that. They really did very little. They had turn 1 Emery, it got forced, then they had a turn 3 or 4 1 ring. Must have been turn 3 because it's on 3 counters already. And that was the backup. So I think that decision bought me enough time to get to here. On to the next one. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables.
Good. All right, here we go, gang.
In this YouTube series, hosts Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan take us on a set-by-set journey through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a focused deep dive into the facts about a set's design and release, the Magic lore expressed through the cards in that set, Tournament Edition gameplay videos featuring products and Pro Tour decks of the era, an award show that shouts out the best and weirdest cards of the set, and a final grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/TheResleevables. On the play in round number 3, unfortunately, this is one of those hands this deck will give you. This deck is built on the thinnest margin, 16 lands, including 2 colorless sources, and you don't really have the 20 blue cards you'd want to really support Force of Will. Like, you're on the edge of mana, and you're on the edge of blue count, and you do mulligan hands that just don't make mana, and here's another one. This is, in my estimation, the greatest weakness of the deck. Alright, gotta keep this hand. Don't need 2 dazes. I believe Bowmaster is my black card for grief. Yeah, I'm going to put back this other daze. And I'm just going to grief them, pitching Bowmaster. That will inform what I want to do with this Brainstorm. Oh, baby. Well, Wish I had Reanimate in my hand. Okay, I'm going to take their Animate Dead. They are probably so happy right now that I didn't take the Atraxa. Okay. So I take Animate Dead. They don't have a Reanimator payoff here. They have 2 Entombs in their hand, so they're not worried about how they're going to get a creature into the graveyard. Now it's about when it gets there. Okay, they're griefing me, pitching Atraxa. I'm going to brainstorm in response to this, and hopefully leave my hand full of bad cards. Okay, Troll and Brainstorm. They can... Do I let them take the Troll, or do I let them take the Entomb? I think I let them take the Entomb. Alright, here you go. You have my Entomb. That's grief gone. 2 Entombs, 1 mystery card in their hand. I don't actually want a Troll. I want a Reanimate. So I'm going to fetch here for Underground Sea and then just cast Brainstorm. These are all new cards. Looking for a Reanimate. Animate Dead and Murktide. Okay. I'll put back the 2 spells, sandbag the land, and if they Entomb here, they better turn around and Reanimate it right away, or I got them. If they don't do that, I'll just take their grief. All right, the way they're just willy-nillying this, they're either betting that I didn't find a Reanimate, or they know that they did find one last turn. Badlands, oh my goodness. They're passing the turn into me. I can just have this Atraxa? You just gave it to me like that? I accept. Yeah, okay. The biggest thing you could do in any Reanimator mirror, they appear to be more traditional Reanimator, because I see this Badlands, which is not a card in ReScaminator. Or actually, like the original, the prototype ReScaminator from Eternal Weekend Prague actually was a Badlands deck. It had like Fable and Mirror Breaker and stuff in it. But this does look like traditional Reanimator to me. And the biggest sin you can commit in a Reanimator mirror is giving your opponent a monster to reanimate. And I'm fully juking because my deck can play a plan that doesn't have to give my opponent anything. All my Entombs out, my big monsters out, including a Troll of Khazad-dûm. Cutting some Bowmasters because they don't matter. And leaving in all of my Animates and Reanimate Deads because they're going to have to Entomb to win at some point. And I have Grief that can force the issue. So use their deck against them. Let's go. I like this. Force blue card in a fashion that I can't be taken off with the discard spell. Like if they take the Ponder, I still have Force blue card. Take a Force, still have another one. And I have Slow Pressure, and I have Real Graveyard Hate. I like the mix here. Swamp Petal. Well, they sacked Petal for red, then unsacked it. Dothy Voidwalker. I don't really want this card in play. I do have all my Swords of Plowshares in the deck. Yeah, okay, you can have that. I might regret that, but I think it's exploitable in ways that don't require me to 2-for-1 myself. Ponder. Looking for Plow. Found it. I'm going to put Reanimate at the bottom of the pile. Plow in the middle. And I'm going to draw the Troll. Because the Plow's the card I care about here. I don't want it exposed to discard. Dothy attack. Didn't do anything else. I can Force of Will an opposition agent here, so I don't really need to think too hard about that. Do I want double black or double blue? I think double black is more important, getting the Scrubland now. Swords to Plowshares, this donkey. And pass the turn. Badlands. And there's the Faithless Looting that they kind of indicated on turn 1 before changing their mind and playing Voidwalker. I'm not going to force this, even though it is a Graveyard Enabler, because I have Reanimate in my hand. They have to go down to 3 cards here. If their 3 cards happen to be Grief, Black Card, Animate Dead, or Reanimate, they're going to get a monster here. But if it's not all of that, I can force their Reanimate and have their Sheoldred, which is what I'm planning to do here. Force of Will that. And Cycling Troll does give them a target, but I think that's okay. And I actually want Unlicensed Source. Yeah, my plan was Undercity Sewer, but I have 3 mana worth of high impact plays to make here. I'd like your... Is Sheoldred better than Troll? Yeah. Yeah. Sheoldred's better than Troll. They both hit for 6 a turn, but Sheoldred also gains life. And if they have something like Macabre or Surgical, I'd prefer them to have to eat out of their own graveyard. All right. Unlicensed Hearse going in here. They did have Macabre. They got my Troll. This can hit any combination of graveyards for your 2 cards. But I did force them to exile their own monster, which is powerful. And let's take this Faithless Looting while we're all hanging out here. Okay, Murktide, good for not enough yet. I can hardcast Force of Negation and activate Hearse this turn. I could flash in Bowmaster, which can just attack, or it can crew Hearse. Lotus Petal has card number 5 in play. All right, I'm going to play a Bowmaster to start reducing their life total. 11 turn clock. Still take it. Chewing up that graveyard. A land gets me Murktide. It might still be better to leave up Force, though. Yeah, I would rather make sure nothing can go wrong, though this is a 6/6, and I have Hearse in play. I don't think anything's going to go wrong. I'm going to shove the Murktide. I think this is a calculated enough risk that it's fine. Going from an 11 turn clock to a 3 is a big change in the game. And yeah, okay, they've had enough. Be very, very, very careful in ReScaminator and Reanimator and anything where your opponent might have Reanimate. You really don't just want to hang something out with an Entomb if you don't have a player for that thing. On to the next round. Welcome to TopDeck.gg, your community's home for everything competitive Magic has to offer. If you're hosting an event, playing for a huge prize, or advertising your events to thousands of players, we've got you covered. Using intuitive pairing software, playing Magic is a breeze. Players just have to sign up online, then scan the QR code in-store. Give competitors the gift of perfect information as their bracket updates in real time. The self-reporting software saves you time and leaves paper match slips in the past. Leave the heavy lifting to TopDeck.gg so your community can relax and focus on playing Magic. On the play in round 4, I am going to keep this hand. It doesn't really come out blazing, and it's kind of soft to Wasteland at the moment, but it sees a lot of cards, has some interaction. I'm not going to set a hand like this back, just because it doesn't send a crazy turn 1. A Troll of Khazad-dûm alleviates my Wasteland concerns quite a bit. Yeah, I'm going to stack this so I have Force in my hand. That gives me Force blue card and Daze to interact on this turn. And then my next 2 draws are Troll, Polluted Delta. I could shuffle away the Delta with the Troll if I don't want it. Or I could continue hitting land drops and be happy about my life. We'll see if they give me a good spot for a Bowmaster is the difference. They got 2 Flooded Strands over there. I think I would like to cycle the Troll. I could grab Sewers. Yeah, I'll get Sewers. The things I want to do cost 2 mana anyway. Interesting. I'm just going to make my land drop. I could have Brainstormed first and used Sewers to clear one of the cards I don't like if I didn't come up with a proper fetch land. But I think just versus Flooded Strand, pass. I like having Bowmaster around. 3 Flooded Strands, I'm so jealous. I love Flooded Strand so much. I think I kind of want to start a conversation in the end step here, because I'm about to reanimate a Troll. And if they just Force of Will Bowmaster, I could reanimate Bowmaster if I think that's better for the matchup. If Bowmaster just resolves, I have to think about what that means. It just means Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, there might not be rocket science involved in what's happening right now. I'm going to fire Brainstorm first and see if I could do something cooler this turn. I could just represent another Bowmaster. If I put back Animate Dead and Reanimate, then I could just be a multi-Bowmaster gamer with Force backup, and I don't have to do something like expose a Troll to Swords to Plowshares. Putting back both reanimation spells heavily softens what my deck can actually do as far as insane top decks, but I don't really want to gas out of Force blue card by putting back the Daze, which is my other option. And I'm going to skip on the 1 extra damage to keep the second Bowmaster a surprise. We're about to start seeing what they're doing over there. The first Flooded Strand has been cracked. Undercity Sewers. Wasn't a mirror the whole time. Been to Murktide. Okay, so Flooded Strand in high numbers. I think my list only has 2 of those. Yeah, so they have 3 Flooded Strands, which doesn't mean it's not an Esper Scam Mirror. It just means their list is a little different than mine, if that is what's going on. The Murktide, kind of an indicator. Undercity Sewers, kind of an indicator. Mystic Sanctuary, all right, we are not in a mirror. There is no room in ReScaminator for Mystic Sanctuary. I'm gonna follow up in the end step here. Another Bowmaster. Gonna try to cause some problems for my opponent right now. Tundra. Drown in the Lock. They're countering this one. Interesting. I could just take this. Yeah, I'm just gonna accept that this has happened. Reasonable trade. Cost them some mana in their end step. Brainstorm. 2 Wastelands, huh? If I put back Island and Troll, or Island and Daze, I could go Wasteland, Wasteland, your 2 colored sources, bring back Troll or Bowmaster. I'm going to put back Island and Daze. So I could cycle with the other Troll next turn. Given what they've shown me, would I rather have a 5/5 Troll in play or another Bowmaster? What's the clock? The clock's 3 turns with a Troll. It's 5 turns with a Bowmaster, but it creates other problems for them. Yeah, I want the Troll. I'm going to do it pre-combat. I kind of want to use these Wastelands in a way that is most sneaky. Attack with these. Still in combat, I'm going to Wasteland Tundra after damage, just in case they have some trick that floats mana somehow. And I'm going to Wasteland the Undercity Sewers. I'm not going to wait for them to find another white source. They may not even have white cards in the main deck. If they fetch Tundra and plow me here, that would be disappointing. Okay, Tundra confirmed. No access to black right now. Swords to Plowshares. Really wish I left Daze in the hand. I'm going to force this. I'm pushing. They're forcing me back. Pitching force. Okay. Alrighty. They're at 11. Still got to beat a Bowmaster. I'm at 23. Daze is on top of my deck that I can shuffle away if I choose to. We'll see what they do this turn. Yeah, this looks like just Esper control of some variety. Okay. I don't think I want Daze anymore. I'm going to cycle this Troll. They stuck a big threat this turn, which means I want to try to respond with something useful rather than hold up counter for their next thing when they already have a thing. Okay, I could cast Grief next turn. All right, I will keep the Grief, play the land, and just pass here. They're on a 6-turn clock. I'm on a 4. Hopefully Grief can flip it. Hey, Grief, go get him. Before combat, I don't want to walk into a Bowmaster ambush in combat if they have a Bowmaster, because they did just unlock black mana. Hardcast Daze, brutal. Okay, I'm drawing Basic Swamp, and then Brainstorm has to fix this game for me. And for 6, I go to 11. 2 more hits. I am going to attack first this time. I kind of want them to blow me out in combat with Bowmaster if that's what they have. I'd rather it hit in combat than Brainstorm. All right, Moment of Truth. Is that what you have? Do you have one of those? Please don't. I'm so dead if you do. Jesus, it's happening. Yep, okay. Yep, patience. Well played. Maybe my Wastelands could have been used better to fight the... actually take them off a color if I just hold back Daze, but they could have played around Daze. They just chose not to and were rewarded for that choice. I don't know. It looks like they were kind of pre-boarded for this matchup already. And we have kind of an interesting situation here because we just had that whole conversation about don't give your opponent anything to reanimate. And we saw a lot of the bones of this deck, but we didn't actually see a reanimation effect, which makes me wonder if they have them. Are they scamming or are they just some stable Esper deck? And if so, how far off of my combo do I actually want to go? If this was for sure a mirror, I'd be off the reanimation entirely. I'd have my hearses in, but I'm not sure that it is a mirror. We know there's Murktide, so I want Plow and Voidwalker. This is actually really hard. Maybe I partial juke, which is not something I often advise. It's kind of my plan versus Delver to partial juke. So I could cut forces, cut these 2-for-1 effects, and just kind of play this normal mid-range game, but I still have 2 Entombs and a bunch of ways to animate. I'll try this. They have the Brewer's advantage right now because I don't know if their deck is ReScaminator or not. I think that it's not, but I could definitely be wrong. I will keep this hand even though it's kind of slow and steady. Sewers. Don't need a Flooded Strand. I'm not going to Grief on turn 0 here. I don't think this is a deck that can send it hard enough to make that worth doing. Basic Island Ponder, okay. Force of Will with no blue card. I'm just going to Tundra Pass here. This is a pretty obvious Bowmaster, but it's what I have. But being on the play with a Wasteland, if they put out Underground Sea here, I can Wasteland their Underground Sea without casting any spells. Okay. We have seen Daze in this deck. I'm going for it. Gonna start causing problems for them. Cool. We're in. Yeah, we're on the draw in a sideboard game. They might not even have Daze in the deck anymore. They did not shuffle Ponder. Basic Plains, okay. Living the basic land dream over there. Now they have to decide if they want to play around Daze. They also don't. Okay. We both gambled and won on Daze. Entomb. That card is fine, I guess. This basic Plains really makes me think that they don't have reanimation stuff. I'm going to Entomb. I'm going to dump the Archon. This is a half package. This is one of only 2 Entombs, and there's only the Archon that it can get. Force Pitching Murktide. We love that. Okay. I would love a Swamp. Daze. All right, well, miserable, but okay. 3-color mana base coming to get me here. Gonna play out the Wasteland because I could just cast Triumph next turn if I find a land. Oh, speaking of casting Triumph, here's this asshole. I will force this. I am not prepared to actually beat this card in fair combat. Okay, they're passing to me. Any land cast Triumph, a black land cast Grief. I could just draw the other Entomb, I guess. And I'd still rather Entomb on their end step, even if it gives them the chance to draw a counterspell or whatever. There was a pause on their draw step. Okay. It must have been built. Hey, do you have more basic lands to get? Am I going to get to Wasteland you? If so, what are we doing with the 1 turn of mana to cast a spell with? Murktide Region. Resolves. Okay, Entomb for the Archon. Good as it's ever been. It has been nice of my deck to give me both Entombs before I draw the Archon. Another Force pitching another Murktide, alright. Come on, deck. Something good. Daze is not good. I'm going to take them off black, which takes me farther away from Triumph, but I believe this is the game I have to play at this point. I'm on a 3-turn clock, they're on a 4, and they get the first hit here. I do have Daze ready versus an opponent playing on 2 lands, so if I get anything going, I'm well set up. But that is a big if. Ooh, my very own. Okay, attack for 2. Alright, let's catch up. Mine is smaller, but this does flip the race. Containment Priest. Is this where I want to point a Daze? I think so. And I'll pick up the Sewers. It's slow going, but I would like the selection. I feel like this game's about to grind down. If they follow that up with like Teferi Time Raveler, Bounce Murktide, I'm in hell. But like Plow's fine too, because that also affects the race. Now I'm on a 3-turn clock and they're also on a 3-turn clock. But once again, they have the first hit. So maybe that didn't affect the race. Maybe that was great. Ponder. All right. Swords of Plowshares. Brazen Borrower. Reanimate. There's a Containment Priest in the graveyard. I don't have black mana. I'm just gonna shuffle this. Ugh. Yeah, shuffle it. We did it, Reddit. Undercity Sewers. Sees another Plow, which means I'm not worried about Daze on this one. Spell Pierce. Okay, that's fine. I'm ready. You got 1 card left in your hand. I got another Plow on top of my deck. I'm gonna go to 5. Oh no! What a miracle. We just set it up to actually stabilize and turn this around. Now I need to Plow the Murktide and chump block. I'm at exactly the wrong life total to fight a Triumph. Damn. What a beating. Okay. In their deck, whatever this is clearly blue-white base with a black splash, where I'm blue-black with a white splash. And like I said in game 1, they appear to be kind of built to be my sideboard plan, but in game 1 and with all of their resources intentionally, where I'm on this kind of pivot. Wow, a Wasteland 2. They can take me off white for removal or white for my own Triumph. This one just came off the rails, where otherwise I felt fine. Yep, GG. Also, importantly to point out, I had Grief in my hand and 4 mana for most of this game. but it was 1 black source, 1 tundra, 1 island, and 1 wasteland. Let's look at the mana base real quick. I said this deck, even the Dimir version, is playing on thin margins for what it can get away with as a structurally sound Magic deck. And this one introducing the 3rd color, obviously Swords to Plowshares was my out at the end of that game, and it was a phenomenal draw, and the white card was great. So we're weighing pros and cons here. However, if I could have just cast my Grief, stripped the Murktide that ended up killing me 2 turns before they cast it, that, you know, I have a 3-2 in play, and they don't have a 7-7. And the cost of that was the Swords to Plowshares, which was my best draw later, but I only needed it at all because I couldn't Grief earlier. There's a lot going on here. On to the final round. The NYSE Open is a prestigious, long-running vintage tournament based out of New York City. It's returning again this summer, June 22nd, 2024 in Plainview, New York. This 15 proxy event has a $500 entry. That's a lot of money, but what are we playing for? First place gets a Black Lotus. 2nd through 8th place get Time Twister, Time Walk, and all 5 Moxen. At 115 players, a playset of Bazaar Baghdad is added to the prize pool. At 135, 4 Mishra's Workshops. At 155, 4 foil Gaia's Cradle. This prize pool is better than Eternal Weekend. If you think it's worth playing for, sign up for the event on melee.gg or use the link in the video description, and I will definitely see you there. I'm on the draw in the final round. I have Entomb, Reanimate, and outs to a blue card. I'm just going to keep this. The upside's really high here. Literally any blue card in my deck is a banger draw. No! All right, we're getting scammed. They pitched a Dark Ritual, though, so this is not a mirror. They're a much raunchier Grief deck. I suspect they take my Reanimate, or else I'm just taking their Grief. Reanimate is gone as predicted. Bloodstained Mire, Dark Ritual, Liliana of the Veil. Let's go. Okay. I'm having fun already. I think I have too many lands. All right. This is going to be Archon or Bust, I think. Grief. I could Sewers, or I could Entomb. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Entomb available. And I'll probably just discard the Force of Will at this point. I think I'm behind to that already. Tiny Bones. Whenever this deals damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be used to cast that spell. All right. Not a thing I need to worry about at the moment. Each player discards a card. I'm dumping Force. I am going to Entomb for Archon and hope that it spikes. But now they have a creature, so that's like kind of worse. They just minus Liliana and they're back in it. But I still need to high roll somehow. Reanimate off the top. Brainstorm. All right, let's mix it up. Reanimate somewhere in the Brainstorm. That's a lot of Griefs. A Brazen Borrower. Okay, Undercity Sewers goes back into the deck, and one of the Griefs. I'm a long way off of casting these. Okay, I'll play Polluted Delta. There's this cool thing you can do against Liliana of the Veil, where if your opponent is Hellbent and they plus Liliana, you can bounce her and she has to discard herself. Yeah, I'm going to discard Grief. Next turn, or next mana source, Tiny Bones can cast Grief out of my graveyard. That's really good. Yeah, cast target non-land permanent. Yeah, that's not a thing they can do right now. Okay, we are fetching the Undercity Sewers here. Trying to unlock the goods. Polluted Delta, not the goods. Draw for turn. Reanimate. Yeah! Okay, well, now this is complicated. I guess it's not that complicated. Oh no, this is the nuts. I just Brazen Borrow first. Okay, yeah, we just spiked the insane perfect nuts here. All right, Brazen Borrow or Petty Theft the Liliana, Reanimate the Archon, takes your whole shit. GG. Nice. That worked out perfectly on the last turn where it could have worked. Nice. And that's what I mean, just having faith in the deck to deliver. We had to cantrip a little bit, we had to take some beats, but I was never insanely worried about that. Okay, there are Tiny Bones, Dark Ritual, Liliana scam deck. I think this is some mono black scam. They're gonna have Reanimates. I think I should be on my other plan here. Pest Control's probably fine. This might even be an Urza Saga deck. We've definitely seen Tiny Bones. Voidwalker, Murktide, all these white cards. Pest Control and Hearse in the maybe pile. Days kind of mid on the draw. I don't need this many Animate Deads. Animate Dead is a non-land permanent they could cast from my graveyard. That's risky. Yeah, I think I'm coming off my Animate Deads entirely. 1 Pest Control, 1 Hearse. Can I make room for more? I could shave Dazes and just get all these cards in. Oh, 12 card sideboard plan. Esper midrange appearing. Yeah, I'm going to go Esper midrange. Let's try it. Okay, this is a turn 1 grief scam. It's risky because they're also a dedicated discard deck, but I'm going to try it. Dark Ritual. Cycling a Troll. Alright, yeah, they might just animate their own troll here. Yep, animate deaded a troll. Okay. While the race is on, I do have all my white removal in. I think I grief them pitching grief. Determine what's in their hand and decide if I want to match them with a troll of my own or just grief them again. Surgical. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to take their Troll of Khazad-dûm and cast Brainstorm. Yeah, that got really shitty. Yeah, I can Tundra, Brainstorm, Shuffle with Troll. Just have to take 5 along the way. They can't cast Opposition Agent even if they draw it, so I'm going to play around Wasteland by not fetching now. If they drew Bowmaster, that's a giant beating. Okay, end step fetch for Tundra, cast Brainstorm. Don't Bowmaster me. Swords of Plowshares, free money. I'm going to put back both of my trolls. Draw for turn. Swords to Plowshares, your troll. Reanimate a troll from your graveyard, which you'll surgical. Yeah, getting a card, once again, coming up again. Welcome to Legacy play patterns right now. Getting a card out of their hand that also cuts off some of their engines from their own graveyard is all fun to me. Still have another surgical over there. I could have wastelanded them here. Yeah, if they go like land Liliana or play a Voidwalker or something, that would be shitty. All right, well, there's a Liliana. How do I want to handle this? All right, they're surgicaling my grief to get, because they were going to lose that anyway if they plus Lily. I think I discard Troll. Yeah, I discard Troll, and then I play Wasteland. And the top of my deck's also a Troll right now. Or no, they just shuffled it. Cool. All right, they gave me the hookup. I'm going to discard Troll. And now we end up in sort of a weird little game of cat and mouse around this Bowmaster. Wasteland your Badlands. Yeah, they're just going to plus for sure. I'll lose Polluted Delta. And then I'll apply 3 damage to Liliana, which is the perfect amount that if they minus to kill my Orc army, Lily's gone. B-Storm. I am going to cast that. There's 1-drops I could hit here or just make my land drop to mitigate Lily stuff. I put back Force and C. I still have a land drop and the troll is a shuffle. Attack Lily down to 2. We're starting to wrestle this back. Cycle Troll for Undercity Sewers. Play the sewers. Get a little selection. Brainstorm on top. Keep it. Okay, now it is the top of their deck versus the top of my deck. Dothy Voidwalker pretty strong. Doesn't solve any existing problems. I'm gonna jam Brainstorm into this. Another Bowmaster, you love to see it. That makes Liliana dead. It doesn't really matter what order I do this in. I could attack first, or I could ping their face. I could attack Lily with both things, ping their face. I could ping Lily, attack with a 2/2. There's many permutations and get the game to where I want it to be right now. All right, Lily's gone. I have 4 power to your 3 power. Oh, stop drawing cards. All right, Troll's not really a card. That's fine. They got a Swamp. Seems like they don't have a Raucous Theater in their deck. A Ponder for me. Ponder, Daze, another Ponder. I could also just shuffle. I think I want to shuffle. Found a land. Attack for 4. They do play Liliana's, so I'm going to run the land out. They ran their land out. Hardcast Grief is live for both players. I'd love a removal spell. None of the above. I'm going to hold back this one in case I draw Brainstorm. They are winning the race right now. I get 2 more draw steps this game. Thoughtseize me. Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I get 1 more draw step this game. Big draw to rule them all. Well, I mean, that is kind of a ruler. I made this as big as I could. how does this work? I can triple block Troll and win on the backswing. Yeah, I actually think I just flipped it either way. If they attack, I triple block and I win on the backswing. If they don't attack, they're just dead. If just Voidwalker attacks, they're just dead. Okay, that was great. Now they have one draw step to rule them all. No spell yet. They're just moving into combat. Troll's attacking. Block. 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 Alright. Super Menace has happened. A removal spell blows me out. Even Bowmaster just finishes off the 7 on Murktide. I don't know. I just have to hope they didn't draw a good spell. I'm going to make the best block I can make. My Bowmaster does end up in the void here. And then they can play that, ping my Bowmaster. Okay. So they are killing Bowmaster first. But if they lose their Voidwalker to go into the void to ping my Bowmaster, their unblockable attacker is gone. Yeah, it's Bowmaster or Ponder or Brainstorm are the things that are in the void. They went with Bowmaster. Okay. Do they have a removal spell to finish it off? Big draws. Basic land. Clap you to 1. Fetch lands off. Reanimates off. Play out Underground Sea. And once again, hope they don't draw Liliana. We did it! Look at this match. This was a perfect no game threes, no times wasted here. Sometimes, so I don't think there's actually any message here other than that's funny that happened. Sometimes when you play no game threes, it's a sign that your deck has good matchups, bad matchups, end of story. That every matchup's so polarized that you're never going to grind out a game 3. But I feel like all of these matches were close. The wins and the losses could have broken either way with a nice rip from somebody. So I think this is just funny that this happened and not actually a lesson learned. Positive record, though. Thoughts after the league are basically what I thought my thoughts would be before the league, which is Swords to Plowshares is a phenomenal Magic card in any sort of mirror match or mirror adjacent beatdown jockeying for onboard advantage kind of game. No surprise there. I occasionally couldn't cast the spells in my hand because of the 3-color mana base. I'm a little surprised by that. I mean, not that much. Like, obviously it's a thing. Like, there's 4 lands that don't tap for black, or 5 lands that don't tap for black in a deck that's trying to cast Grief or double spell into Reanimate. Obviously that's going to come up. That game where I had 4 lands that didn't come up for 2 black between them with the Grief in hand for multiple turns, that was really sad. I don't know if I could have fetched differently to get black and just plan proactively for that world. Maybe 2 blue sources isn't, or 2 white sources is enough here. Because nothing costs double white in the deck. If you get your Tundra wasted, you still have the Scrubland. I wonder if 3 Underground Seas is actually correct over the second Tundra. Because black mana is just so important in this deck. And the Scrubland is the white source that Troll can tutor for, which is an important cover. Because you can't pick up Scrubland in days. Yeah, there's a lot of just minor anti-synergies among the overall. I think this deck is worth the sum of its parts, or better than the sum of its parts, but some of its individual parts are pretty ratchet if you get down into it. This is still likely to be the deck. Like I said, I'm recording this on Wednesday. I leave for that tournament on Friday. You're all going to see this video Monday. Unless something happens in the next 36 hours, I'm probably just going to be on this deck. But I am aware of the mana base now, having played it more than just on paper, that I might be just 2 white sources. I don't know, TBD. I'm just rambling now about tiny minutia. So I'm going to wrap up the video. Anonymous Patreon subscriber, thank you for the opportunity to do this. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon, and I'll see you next time.